Alright, we're going to continue our scary stories.
Yes.
On the way home. Oh, never mind. We're going to stay on this.
Ice shop, and
oh,
it was
you're
a picture
right.
of a dog with pieces of it cut out, and I was like, what the fuck do they do there? Please tell me that they don't cut apart dogs.
Please, no dogs. Alright, so Matt's story.
Ah, yeah.
And just speak up so we make sure we...
Yeah, so Matt told me this story. Matt's seen some shit.
Cousin Matt.
My cousin Matt, yep. Not really my cousin by law or blood, but by sheer will. So, this is his first story. So, him and his parents are driving down, I think it was in the Pine Barrens, actually.
Yes, it was.
In the Pine Barrens, yeah. And, we're driving down the Pine Barrens, and, Matt's not one to, like, give a shit. Like, we're all like, we love ghosts. We want to see ghosts. Matt doesn't give one fuck at all. He's just like, yeah, sure, whatever. If you ask him, he's like, I absolutely believe them because of this shit that I'm about to tell you. But he doesn't look for them. He doesn't find them particularly interesting. He's Matt. You guys know him. You know the way he is.
He's subject to experience.
Yeah. I don't know. What does that mean?
He wasn't looking for it. He just merely experienced
Exactly.
it.
He doesn't give a shit. If something happens in front of him, he would just be like, oh, fuck. And then, all right. You know, like, he still doesn't care that he saw these things. But they're driving down the Pine Barrens. He's in the car with his parents.
I always picture a road like this when you tell that story.
Yeah. It was a road like this. It was a road more like Clinton Road that we went down, but with thick trees on either side. When you see the Pine Barrens, Dylan, you will understand. Like, this is nothing. It's smaller, thinner roads, and it's, like, nastier. But, so they're driving, and as they're driving, a woman, what appeared to be a woman, what they're pretty sure was a woman, in what appeared to be a nightgown, came just walking out into the middle of the street, shaking her head back and forth vigorously and very fast, and she had kind of like poofy gray hair, and it was just like, you know, shaking her head like that real fucking fast, back and forth, just walking like that. You know you can do that, but you're a little bit off balance. Yeah. That's what she was doing across the road. His dad had to swerve to get out of the way of her. And so everyone fucking, I think his mom was sleeping. So she was like, what the fuck? And his dad was like, whoa, fuck. And him and his sister saw it, as well as his dad. And Matt was like, fuck that. And him and his sister looked back in the rear window, and there was no more woman. So, I mean, at first you're like, oh, crazy bitch, whatever. You know, parked her car and is losing her fucking mind in the street. No, because she was gone. She was halfway in the street when they dodged her, and then gone when they looked back, like a second later. So there was that.
Story, I'm sorry to cut you off. I remember when you first told me that, it was either the Pine Barrens
or... the Pine Barrens, oh yeah.
Or, yeah, I just remember for some reason Virginia also sticks out for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know. I could be completely off base.
I'm pretty sure it was the Pine Barrens. Wait. I'm pretty sure it was the Pine Barrens. I'll ask him again. He might have been driving down a different country, small-ass country road. The Pine Barrens might have just reminded me of it.
Yeah, I think that's...
He can tell you the story better, but I remember the fuck out of what he saw.
Yeah. That's all that really matters. Who cares if it was in our backyard? Like.
Yep. The image of that, like, oh god, it's so fucking creepy. And he's like, yeah, that was scary. And then we just didn't care. And then we just went home. We were like, fuck that forever. We're never going back to that road. But him and his dad told me that too. He was like, yeah, fuck that. And his dad's like this big redneck dude, like hunter and like racist, and just doesn't give a shit about anything. Like he's a really nice guy. He's super cool, but he's redneck. You know what I mean? He's proud of it. And so he's not the type of guy who would be like, I saw a ghost. You know what I mean? He was just
get all sassy, just be like, no, I saw that.
Yeah, no, exactly. He was just like, yeah, crazy bitch, and then she was gone. It's like, what?
Crazy bitch, and then she was gone.
But so, I hope you guys meet Matt's dad. He's so fucking cool. But so, that's fun.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
That's what it is.
The second story is a little bit more, like, what? But the reason that makes it believable is, like you said, the dual... people seeing it.
Confirmation.
And Matt, when he tells this story, you you can tell when he tells it in his own house, like he lowers his voice a little bit. You know what I mean? Like he's freaked out by it because it was in his house, and what it was.
He doesn't want to offend whatever it was.
Well, he knows what it was. It was his uncle.
Oh, okay.
They could recognize him. Now they never met their uncle because he died, but they have pictures of him, and this was their uncle. They recognized him from the pictures, and what he did was Matt was his sister was sitting on the couch. It freaks me out thinking about it, and he didn't notice his sister staring into the kitchen at first.
Oh no.
But as he walked by, he noticed something in the kitchen first, and he looked, and there was his uncle standing there, but he had no legs. He was standing without, like, there was no lower half of his body. It was just the top half.
Huh.
And, like, the way Matt says it is like, it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're like, what? Like, it just wasn't there. It just wasn't there. And he was standing there, and then his uncle turned to him, and then he was just gone. Like, just gone. And he turns to his sister, and he's like, holy shit, did you? And his sister is just staring. Just fucking staring at the kitchen, like petrified.
Oh.
And he was just like, and they just looked at each other, and she was just like, yeah. And he's like, yeah. Like, fuck that.
Oh,
So, yeah, there was that one.
I got one similar to in the same vein as your first story with the Pine Barrens. My mom, she actually grew up. Where is it? Middlesex.
A rich black woman.
No, Middlesex.
I was born a poor black child.
Monroe Township. It's only like a half hour from our house now, or 40 minutes. And there's this place very famous in creepy New Jersey stories called Crematorium Hill, and it's exactly what you think it was. At the time my mom lived in Monroe, it was 70s, 80s, absolutely nothing out there. It was like this times 10 without the mountains. Like there's like maybe 300 kids in their high school, that whole bit, and no street lights yet, nothing was developed. And what they do is, the high school kids, they drive out to Crematorium Hill in the middle of the woods, and they, go up to the crematorium and whatnot, and, just creep each other out. I don't know if it was still functioning at that time, or if it was on its, like, last days as a functioning facility, but, they'd go out there and just drive around. It'd basically be like how we go down to Vincenttown, Glossy Sprung Road.
Yeah.
It's like that, with no like true destination, but you can get out and be creeped out wherever you are in the surrounding areas. And my mom was driving. I think she was with a boyfriend at the time or something. Whenever she told the story, I don't remember a lot of people being involved. But her and her car of her friend or friends, I don't remember. They were driving through the woods, which were similar to the Pine Barrens, but this is a little bit more North Jersey, so it's not the same. It's not sandy roads, it's just straight up woods.
Yeah.
And they're driving, and this little black girl in like a really beat up dress, like think of like Samara from The Ring, but like a nice, like a normal looking little black girl, just come walking out of the woods and then just standing there watching the car as it goes by. And as they kept driving, they would see like things like like dead chicken, little carcasses hanging from the trees. So it was like very obviously some weird, it's sad really, like these poor families practicing God knows what religion out in the middle of the woods. And it's just like, what happened to these people, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line? There's a little girl doing something in the middle of the woods at night by herself.
Yeah.
It's just like, what is the story there?
Yeah.
And my mom, like I said before, she gave me Weird New Jersey. So when I got into all these stories, and I didn't have access to drive, like when I was 14 and whatnot, and we were visiting my grandma, I'd be like, hey mom, it says Crematorium Hill is up this way, up near grandma's, because I always associate Middlesex or Monroe with my grandma's house. She goes, oh yeah, and she told me that story, and she was like, you know what, let's go back. It was like a Sunday afternoon, so we weren't
I'm good now.
no
Fuck that
shit.
shit.
It was like a Sunday afternoon, so I wasn't worried, like
Yeah.
Again, the town had built up quite a bit since my mom's childhood.
And it's a Sunday. It's an afternoon.
And
it's
yeah,
not like
it's light out.
nighttime.
Exactly. It'd be like literally like driving through the park. So we're driving around, and my mom's like, I could have sworn it was here. Well, we were driving through like this new like McMansion neighborhood. That was, and we're sitting there, and like there's this big hill, and we're sitting at it, and there's just a couple of these giant houses sitting on it, and my mom goes, "Oh my God, they built over the crematorium." And me and my brothers look at each other and go, these houses are so haunted, and those rich people have no idea. They have no idea what they're in for. And I was like, oh my God. I think hearing ghost justice is a little bit more terrifying than hearing these, stories within the house. Because it's like, oh my God, if there's anything spiritual at all in this world, those people are those people are so screwed, because however many bodies, however many people are living in the woods in these areas, it's happening right here, folks. Like
poltergeist.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's exactly poltergeist.
Yep.
So I was in there on the ground.
Yeah.
Oh, adding to lore, I don't know if this is just what I remembered over the years, and that just sent a false spark off, but I think the significance was, when my mom was a kid, was that it was a crematorium near a burial ground. So if that's true,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So if that's true, good luck.
So the Indians were pissed at the crematorium for building it so close to their burial ground, and then both of them are pissed. At first, the ghosts are at war with each other, and then they're like, "Wait, fuck this shit. These people."
It's the Monopoly guy.
Did you want to stop at like a gas station or something, Speed?
I'm alright. Dylan, you have to have some stories up from back home.
I'm sorting through them right now, actually.
You're what?
I'm searching for them in my head right now.
Oh, I got one. So, near our house, actually.
Piscataway or back
No, near like Hamilton, in Hamilton. This was Herb and
I got another one.
Jennings.
Bruce?
Bruce Jennings and Herb were hanging out. This was from them. Their story. Whether it's true or not, I don't fucking know. But it was creepy nonetheless. So they're like having fun on a trampoline out in Bruce's backyard. They're just like jumping up and down, just like punching each other on a trampoline. And they hear a baby crying from like a block away. Oh, it freaks me out thinking about the possibility. So it's like a block away, but you can hear a baby crying. They're loud as shit. That's why they're made.
Oh,
for that.
287. I'm sorry. Take it.
Like nature's little sirens. But so
My
they hear a
bad.
baby crying, and then it's like wah, wah, and then it dies down a little bit, and then it comes back, and it seems to be like a little bit closer, but it's still like in a group in like the houses that are nearby. And it's like, wah, wah, and it's crying, and they start going like, wah, wah. They both start like taunting it, and like doing that. So they both heard it, and they're both like, wah, wah. And then in the middle of it screaming, like 5 houses away, they hear it under the trampoline. And they both jumped the fuck off the trampoline, and like Bruce fell on his ass, and Herb like landed and was like, oh my God, and they're both like, fuck, ah! And they just run into and they just hear it loud as fuck, just like just underneath their fucking trampoline.
Oh my God.
And they book it into the house, and as soon as they get in the house, it stopped. And they were like, oh, fuck that bullshit, forever, never again, no. There's that one, just a baby screaming.
Have you ever heard coyotes?
Yeah.
Yeah, coyotes.
They sound like
coyotes and
screaming
cats.
children.
Yeah, coyotes and cats sound like babies.
And screaming rabbits. Have you heard that one?
No.
That's probably the worst.
Rabbits scream?
When they're like getting killed. When we get home, I'll show you a sound clip. Dude, that's terrifying.
Oh, it's Austin and I. We would have fire pits all the time in his backyard at his mom's house. Like it started as let's have the friends over and do a fire pit, and then it became, this is what we do. We just go and like listen to some music and shit like that, and then what are you doing, Copper? And then let the fire burn, and then just do whatever. And we're sitting out there one night, and it's probably getting close to 3 in the morning, and stuff like that. And Austin and I are just sitting there. I think like I had the acoustic out, and we were just chilling. And it was back when we smoked cigarettes and stuff like that. So we were just doing that, hanging out, and we hear some coyotes because we're close to the foothills. They come out every now and then, and then we hear them start to get excited, where it sounds like a kid screaming, sort of thing. And then we hear a dog barking, and then we hear the dog yelping, screaming, and then it stops.
Oh no.
And we just looked at each other like, oh, can they hop fences? Because that was close as fuck. It was just hearing the coyotes progressively get closer. The dog saw them and heard them and most likely got killed.
Wow.
And that was fucked. Thickety fuck.
When think about my mom growing up and whatnot, when she married my dad, it was like probably a year, like I think they were married like 2 or 3 years before I was born. They were looking for houses, and there's this one little old Victorian on a Christmas tree farm, and it was very, very old. And I heard this story when I was probably about 12, and so this stuck with me alone. When they were going through the house, I can't remember if it was a family friend or if it was a realtor who was with them. I feel like it was a family friend because of what they found out about the house. They were going through it. It was a beautiful home. My mom, she has allergies, but like they were fine, even in such an old, house on a Christmas tree farm. And she goes up. They're going through all the attics and whatnot, all the rooms and whatnot. The attic is all right, but one room, I don't remember if it was the attic or just a room on the top floor. They walked in. My mom, I think she was by herself. There was just all like strands of wire, like of rope, all throughout the room with those old-fashioned wooden clothespins on them, like the the hangers, like if you're doing laundry, and I remember like dozens, maybe hundreds of them all around the room. And my mom was just like, okay, like she felt like she couldn't breathe, like it was just a weird room. So she comes out, and they do the rest of the tour. And like the guy, either like I said, the realtor or the friend is like, okay, like my mom was like, yeah, we like the house. It's just like she was like very like evasive about it, and she tells him it's something about that room just doesn't sit right with me. And how they ended up learning, I don't remember. But basically, some guy either hung himself or shot himself in that room. And it's like if merely being in that room brought my mom to not breathing, she's like, yeah, I don't think we're gonna buy this one. And what makes that story so much more powerful down the line is literally this Christmas I was talking, or no, when I was in this summer when I was with my aunt in Florida. I went to my grandparents' house and my aunt visited. She told me about this house that her and her girlfriend worked at when they were younger, and it was a farm, and they were fixing a chair or something in the basement, which was the old-fashioned dirt floor basement, and they had the old creaky wood floor above them. And it was just her and her girlfriend on this property this day. It was like mid-afternoon probably, and they were working on something in the basement, and they hear a distinct walk, and then go up the stairs. And it was just two teenage girls by themselves. And they go, oh my god, this is out in your grandma's? She goes, yeah, it's this old house that was on a Christmas tree farm. And I look at my mom, and she goes, and she's nodding. And I'm like, oh, like
It's the same house.
It's the same house, yeah. So
Fuck that.
I was like, nope.
That was a haunted ass house.
Yeah. So it's like I could have grown up there. No, thank you.
Would have been kind of cool.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't be here right now.
What the fuck?
Is that a weird thought?
Yeah, that is weird. No EMH.
We wouldn't have been here.
Weird.
Dylan wouldn't have been here.
Nope.
Dylan probably would have, I don't know, killed Austin or something.
Yeah.
If it wasn't
Hung
for us.
myself over his dead body.
On a Christmas tree farm
While jacking off on his face. On a rock station.
with those coyotes in the background.
Those are 3 hard words to say really fast. fast.
Autoerotic asphyxiation.
Say it fast, bitch.
Autoerotic asphyxiation.
You didn't say it fast.
Asphyxiation.
You gotta say it when it's all one word. Autoerotic asphyxiation.
That's not saying it though.
Saying it fast.
We all pass out.
I'm trying to think. I've had a lot of weird noises, but like they're not terrifying. It was just afterwards you're like, ew. One of the ones though that was like happened several times that fucked me up as a kid. Again, now I'm like probably sleepy, but as a kid it was just like don't want to go to sleep because it might happen again. Every now and then I'd like to wake up and actually I haven't seen if it's like in any of your houses, but like, cause Evan, you have the pull down attic thing.
Yeah.
All of our attics are just crawl spaces basically.
Well, we
in
have it
Colorado.
now. Do we have a crawl space now?
Yeah, we all
I mean,
shadowing.
but I'm talking about, it's just a square hole in the ceiling with a thing that you push up. That's how you would get into our attic. You know what I'm talking
That's
about?
exactly how our attic is in Piscataway.
No, with a drop down ladder, like at your house.
No, I'm saying
No,
it's
he's
not
talking
that.
about what we have in Piscataway.
Yeah,
Oh,
kind of.
okay,
Except it's
then
just
I'm-
in the room. Like it's painted like the ceiling, and it's just in the room.
Oh, okay. Yeah, mine's in a little.
So I was always in the fucking room with those as a kid, but this was only in one specific house. And it was just I would wake up every now and then, and I don't know if it was like the way that the light would reflect off it, but I'd wake up and look at it, especially after seeing The Grudge and all that shit. It was just like ew, and it would just look like it's closing, like it's closing. It was open and now it's just closing.
I
Just
couldn't
like an
deal with
inch or
that.
so. And
I couldn't deal with
as
that.
a kid, I was just like, no.
It's watching you.
Like, imagine waking up and fucking Samara, like, hanging, or the Grudge girl hanging from one arm, just quietly trying to make their way down to the floor without you hearing.
Yeah.
That's the image that would go into my head, and I'd just be like, fuck.
This one actually happened recently, like to the point of my mom getting mad at my brother, thinking he was trolling her. My brother it was probably like 2 or 3 years ago actually, but my mom hears Alex going, Mom, you know how he can be annoying.
Yeah, Mom.
Yeah, and like my mom's looking for him, like, Alex, what do you want? They're like, what the hell frig do you want? And basically, like, my mom I think she's coming either from out back or from upstairs, and she comes downstairs, and my dad's coming from the living room where the big TV is, and they both meet each other, and they're like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I'm looking for, they're both looking for Alex, and then they're like, okay, so then they hear it again, like, Mom, and like that obnoxious laugh he does, and they hear it from the front room. They hear this obnoxious laugh from my brother, and they go to the front room, and there's nothing there, and it was like to the point of them being annoyed that Alex was trolling them, so they called him. He was with his friends like 3 miles away, like at his friends, nowhere near them.
What the fuck?
And I heard that when I got home. I was like, oh dear.
There's something in our house.
It's
and
learning.
It's learning to sound like Alex. There was my dog, Pugsley.
Oh.
He was the shit. He was such a cool dog. And he would love to come into my room, like when I was going to sleep, and he would love to sleep. He always wanted to be on the bed, but he was too small. He like couldn't make it up there. And when I picked him up and put him on there, he just wanted to get back down. He was just like derpy. So he would always sleep in my closet. So I would open the door and he'd get in there, and sometimes he would get in there and I didn't know, and then I'd shut the door, not knowing, but he just wouldn't give a shit, and he would just go to sleep. But then he would scratch on it when he wanted to get out, and then he'd scratch on my door to get out. So, and it sounds like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It like, but it's on glass, so it sounds more like tapping against the door, kind of. And so I'd be sleeping, and then I'd hear it, and I'm like, oh, Bugs is in here. All right, get out of here, little fucker. And I'd let him out. Well, one night it happened, and he was like scratch, and I let him out, and then I let him out of my bedroom, and I shut the door in my bedroom so he can't get back in, so I don't have to deal with it. And I go back to sleep, and I close my closet door, and I wake up like 3 hours later, and I hear it again from inside my closet door. And did I ever tell you this one, Jeff?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. This seems like newer than I'm telling you. And I'm like, oh, Pugsley's here. And then I open up the thing, and I'm like, wait a minute. I already let you out. and then I moved like I tore up all the clothes and stuff in there. Like whenever I hear it, I just search the shit out of whatever it might be.
Oh,
like,
the dog wasn't in there at all?
No, the dog wasn't in there.
No.
It was just against the thing. I don't know if I was dreaming that one. I don't know. I hope so.
Yeah.
Because it, like, what is it? A fucking ghost of a dog? I doubt it. It's something in there pretending to be my dog. Like, oh, fuck that.
When
Fuck that.
when my brother and I were younger, we used to play with that Ouija board a lot, and again, we were for a lot of the time we were with my friend Will, and Will's like a year older than me, and we were smart kids. Like he read a lot, so if he needed like a backstory for something like out of nowhere, he could probably think of one. So I'm inclined to believe a lot of it was BS from him, like being fed from him, because if it was from my brother, then I straight up believe in ghosts, because there's no way an 8-year-old boy made up a backstory about a person from 14th century Luxembourg. But that's its own story.
Yeah.
So me, Will, and my brother always play with the Ouija board. We're talking to things, quote unquote, and my dad, being raised Catholic, was always like, just be careful with that stuff. Like, he's like, he didn't believe in it, but he's like, that's just weird. And my mom,
I can hear your dad's voice when you do that.
Yeah.
With like the that's good.
And
just be careful with that.
My mom was like, neither of them directly forbid it, because they knew if there was something we really wanted to do, we'd find a way to do it.
Yeah.
And it just lead us to doing it more stupidly. So my mom didn't want to do it because she just like cited the story that she never really told me of, like, yeah, we did it when we were in high school in this one room, and it was never the same type of thing. Like, it marked the room weird. So they were both not too happy about their prepubescent teens doing it in the basement, waka waka. And yeah. And so eventually Will and I, we get over it. We don't, we're not super interested in it, but we still do it every weekend. And it's like with us playing D&D now, like once we showed my brother, that's all he wants to do. So like every weekend Will come over, he's like, let's play with the Ouija board. I'm like, no, Alex, we're going to go, we're going to go to the movies or something. So he's like, okay. So then we learn that he starts doing it with like his group of like 5 little kid friends in the neighborhood. And it's like, oh, that's a little unsettling. I hope their parents don't mark us as like, the Satanists and whatnot. And so they start doing it. And I always, a couple days later, I always ask him, so how did that go? Did you do, did anything creep you out? And he has his little stories. Some of them you can tell they're BS. Some of them you can tell, whatever. Someone was playing a trick. But like, he was always very open-minded about it. And he tells me the story of this very bad, not bad, but like it was like a troublemaker. It was a poltergeist, but he had like a evil streak in him. Like, oh, I'd be talking to my brother. He's like, oh, so he plays jokes. And Alex is like, no, he's just a bad guy. I'm like, okay. So what's his name? And I asked him, like, I was talking to him recently about this, and he reminded me it was Amni, almost like Abney, but without a B. And I was like, oh, okay. So at the time, that was his favorite one. That would be the one that either he chose to talk to the most, or if my brother would describe it, he'd be the one that would butt into the conversation the most. And
we're actually, Amni's here, bitch.
Yeah, we're gonna be taking 37 on this road. And
wait, east?
Yeah.
This exit?
I guess so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, half mile. Yeah. So he was like, yeah, Amni's the troublemaker. I'm like, okay, so after I hear this name Amni, I'm like, okay, so my brother has a quote unquote friend. I let him run with it as far as he wanted to.
East 24, East 78.
78 Springfield. And after he shows his friends this for a couple weeks, I ask him, how Amni's doing and whatnot. He's like, oh, he's kind of mean. I'm like, well, so what does he look like? What's his backstory? And he goes, well, this is my brother, like, probably 9 years old, no older than he definitely wasn't 12. He was very little. He goes, oh, I think he's a demon. I go, oh, okay. Well, what do demons do? He goes, I don't know. Just he's kind of just like a mean person. I go, okay. Well, what does he look like? He goes, well, he described himself. He looks like a little dog with like this white mask on. It was like, now a movie came out recently at that point. I don't remember the name of the movie, but it was like a dog with like its neck broken backwards. And at the time, that's all I could remember. I think it was The Omen, the remake of The Omen.
Huh.
So, but
That
my
was
brother didn't.
2006.
My brother didn't see that. That was 2006. Then it had to be earlier than that. Then I think as time went on, that's what I associated it with. But my brother described it as this white dog with this white like V mask on. Not like, I don't know. I think of something from Courage also, but I can't put my finger on it.
Eustace with a mask on his face going boogada boogada boogada.
I wish. And I'm like, okay, well that's unsettling. In my mind, I'm like, that's unsettling. But okay, Alex.
That's creepy
yeah.
as balls.
All right, well, you be careful with Amni. He's like, okay. So then my mom starts telling the story recently about how, late at night she's always working on her computer, just ditzing around and whatnot, or, doing work stuff, depending what she's doing. She's sitting on her computer late at night, and at the time we were all young, so we weren't up until forever like we are now. And she always talks about how she thinks that Sparky has a little bed at my mom's feet at her computer, and she'd see at the corner of her eye Sparky, a little white dog, go under her feet. And my mom would reach down to pet Sparky, and nothing was there. So I was like, I didn't tell her about Amni because I didn't want her to think my brother was conjuring freaking Lucifer. But I was like, oh, that's terrible. And I think at that point I hit the Ouija board for my brother.
So you use the Ouija board with your friends. Oh, it's a lot of fun. Let your brother use the Ouija board, summons demons.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to a demon lately. Why? Stop.
Oh no, the worst part, not the worst part, but the tangible evidence of all this, the 14th century Luxembourg person, she was an Asian immigrant, implied to be a slave. Again, I feel like this is Will's doing, but okay, yeah, straight from China or Japan, I forget, and it's like, okay, that's terrifying, but she was very nice. She was like the good one whenever we talk to these things. So we go on vacation with my family. I want to say we went to I think it was like one of the first times we went to Florida.
I remember your family telling me this.
Yes.
The dust, right?
Yes, your
family told me this shit. Everybody vouched for this.
We have a jacuzzi in the back, the sunroom that's connected to the porch. So that's its own little addition on the house, which is completely sealed up and locked up. Like I said, a jacuzzi built into the floor. And, we don't, again, we were away for a couple weeks to begin with, but, it's dusty in there. It's just a little room with no ventilation, with steam. So there's dust everywhere. So we get back from vacation and, we're breaking in the house again, checking everything, make sure everything's, still locked and whatnot. And my dad goes into the back room and calls my mom out, and we all go back out there, and there's little feet. They're not baby feet, but the little footprints across the top of the jacuzzi. And the first thing I think of is, like the whole Chinese foot binding thing. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And like, not even from definitely ghost aspect, but it's like there was some little human walking across this. Like, if it was a baby, it could have fell into the jacuzzi and drowned, because, it's just a cardboard, leather case top. Like, it wasn't anything strong. So even if it wasn't paranormal, what the hell was back there? Who was back there? It's completely locked up.
We should get a Ouija board for our house.
I have it in my room.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
In terms of not paranormal or anything, but like just horrifying, there was a couple ones with like people in the backyard and stuff. Like one of them in one of my dad's houses that we lived in at the time. It was like we were just chilling. The cops knocked at our door and like, what's going on? Escaped convict, yada yada, in the area. Shouldn't be dangerous, but I guess my brother was downstairs playing video games, and it was one of the basements where it's like walk out into the backyard.
Oh, I hate that.
And he had ran through the backyard while my brother was down there, like hopping fences in the back shit. So that was kind of creepy. But the actual like pants shitting one I was in my mother's house now, so we're in the basement. You guys, you slept in the basement. How there's the window wells.
Yeah, is this the one with all the little dogs? That one? That house?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The windows, those. There were two of them down there at one point, and my buddy Jake lived at the house basically, and we'd stay over all the time, and we'd just crash in the basement when he was over, and we each had our little bed things. So he was pretty much my brother, lived at the house, so my parents didn't care, even though we were young. Like, okay, we're gonna go stay in this casino to Blackhawk for a weekend, or for a night, or whatever. So you watch the house. Like, okay, cool. This means we stay up as late as possible, play all the video games, yada yada yada.
No parents, no rules.
Exactly. And so I think it was like they'd been gone for 2 nights. The first night we did not sleep at all, and so I was tired as dicks. And it was probably, asleep by 12:30 sort of thing. Let's turn all the lights down in the basement, and that basement is pitch fucking black when the lights are not on, and there's no light coming in from the window wells. It's like unsettlingly dark. So we're watching the house, and it's already sort of like any noise is someone breaking in. I think we were probably maybe 13, 12. So I slept on the one that was like nearest to the window, and when you do, you sort of have a sliver that can look into the backyard to the point where, like, if the dogs are out there, they'll sort of look down at you in there, and you're like, oh, hey, what's going on? Or you can see, the ankles and kind of legs of people walking in the backyard during the day or something like that. And so I'm on my way to falling asleep, sort of thing, and just sort of looking around the basement, which is pitch black, eyes are adjusting. Close my eyes, having difficulty sleeping. Jake's out like a fucking light, and just sort of laying there thinking. And I look up at the window well, and it was like, I don't know who in the holy sweet fuck it could have been, but there was a person on all fours looking down at me in the window well.
Oh my god.
To the point where I lost my shit. I was like, Jake, wake the fuck up! And I looked at Jake, and so I'm sure that I didn't see it move away or anything at all, but I looked back up and it was gone. That was probably one of the most terrifying moments ever. 12 or 13.
Fuck that.
And so it was scouring the house. I did not sleep. Neither did Jake, because if you scare Jake, he's up, basically. And did not sleep the rest of the night. It was sit in the living room, get the dogs in the living room, and just should have called the cops probably in hindsight, but that was the looking up, and like, there's a person watching me sleep here above me. There's no parents. All the thoughts rushing in at the same time was just and he was on all fours watching us. It wasn't just there was someone in our backyard.
He was sitting
on all fours,
crouching,
and I just
fuck that shit, man. Oh, fucking creepy bitch.
It's like like I said, my mom lived out in Monroe, and growing up there was nothing out there, and she's actually not too far from like the boys' home, like juvie basically.
Hey, when are we gonna get back? Do you think like 1:30?
About that, a little after that.
Alright.
Yeah, a little before 2.
I might fall asleep.
That's fine.
Same.
So yeah, I'll stop the recording after this. She lived out basically near the state, juvie center, and we're gonna be taking 78 West. And sometimes, like you said, with your brother, sometimes they'd be
what's the exit?
I don't know. They'd be warnings that a couple kids got out and whatnot. Just lock up and be careful. And my grandparents' house was completely backed to the woods. And my mom always tells stories about, like, whenever that would happen, sometimes if you looked out back, like, you'd see like little glowing embers of like cigarettes just hanging out in the woods.
Yeah,
just like these kids, broke out, run to the woods and just hung out. It's like that's is unsettling.
Yeah. Austin actually has a story like that you could probably tell better. That their house backed up the woods in the same way. I can't remember. It was like maybe Florida or Virginia or something. I don't know. He's Vermont. I don't know. He's lived in different places, but it was like back up to woods like that, and they would of course go roam through them and stuff like that. And he had some weird experiences. This is the one I remember though. Is and Andrew is vouched for it too. They went back into the woods and were playing around like they typically do. And they found like a shed, but it was too big to be a shed. And it looked like a little house that someone was just living in, just shanty bullshit house that had just weird things inside it.
They went
just
inside?
straight out of a horror movie. I don't know if they looked in or if I'm getting my shit confused, but it was just weird.
What state was this in?
I want to say Florida, but I'm not entirely sure.
Meth house.
Yeah. But I guess that would be a logical explanation for it. Just ew.
When I was really, really little, like 6 or something, or even younger, I was sleeping in my room in my house in Trenton, and a man apparently climbed up a ladder. Used our ladder, put it up against the house. My bedroom was on the 2nd story. Climbed up into my room, climbed over me as I was sleeping, fell onto my bedroom floor and just bled out on my bedroom floor. And my mom came in and was like, fuck, and just picked me up. I was like, no, and then took me out.
What the fuck?
He was just blood all over my floor. It's like, okay, guy, good night.
Thank you.
Our house had also been like robbed like 4 times in Trenton.
Jesus.
I hate shitty places really so. Trenton's a shitty place.
When my mom was in college with the 4 girls in the house and near the ocean, there was reports of a peeping Tom. And one night, my mom, I don't know if you're familiar with Atlantic City, Evan, like in the surrounding areas, how like there are those small little houses in rows, like near the shore, and the alley, like between each house, Dylan, are maybe like 4 foot max, and it's all just cobble, like pebbles and stuff. And like my mom one night was looking out in between the 2 alleys, and she could see her, there's a wall. She was like in the kitchen, and in her girlfriend's room, that light was on, so going out the window into the alleyway, and she saw this fucker staring into the fucking window, and then they called the cops.
God, fuck. Just the idea of someone watching you is so scary. Fucking just ew. Like another story that just there are very few videos and stories that can just get me every time consistently. One of them is the video I have the body of a pig. Don't know why. I don't typically get scared of the EVPs or anything like that, but that one is just fucked for some reason.
Well, there's some EVPs that are worse than others.
Yeah.
That is probably one of the worst ones I've ever heard.
But fuck, wait, I lost the thought.
The videos creep you out watching people.
The story. Okay, the story was the man. We've talked about it, but the man who noticed things were missing, like in his house every now and then. He'd be like, I swear to fuck.
Oh,
like,
yeah, the woman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he set up. Or have you heard this, Jeff?
Some of it, go on. I know where it's going, but
yeah, he set up a recorder, or just like a shitty camcorder to record when he was sleeping, and goes to check it again in the morning while he's eating breakfast and stuff like that, and the pantry door opens. A woman crawls down from the fucking crawl space above his house, crawls out of the pantry, grabs food, and crawls right the fuck back up there. As he's watching it in the kitchen, probably back to the fucking pantry. Just the putting yourself there, that is one of the ones that's just, oh god, fuck that.
Hope he went straight to the cops.
Yeah, leave the house, just,
God, is that real?
Yeah, that one's a true story. I want to say the video exists too. I think I've seen it, unless I just think I did. But just, oh god. Oh god, just, you're sleeping and she's just up there, doing what?
Waiting.
Watching.
Probably also sleeping.
Stop. No.
Pretending that she's your wife. Nope.
My husband went to work. Well, that has been creepypasta real life story variety hour with the Sham House. Love you guys.